Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. I'm StevotheHuman.
And I'm Spaztique.
And we're back with another riffing.
Yay!
And hey, this has only been a month since...
Yes.
Yeah, it's only been a month since our last one, so...
Much less
we're
of a
doing pretty
delay.
well.
I hope we do more of these more often.
Anyway, tonight... Tonight's fic has a pretty intricate story, longer than the one in our script right now. So, it all started when it was brought to my knowledge via that dastardly Google Plus feed. A Mr. Brendan McComb was writing his awesome epic fic, just starting it. The actual name of the fic is called Breaking Illusions. Well, it was originally called Breaking Illusions. Then it was changed to just Illusions. as in
that is the most...
having illusions and not being disillusioned. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Oh, I give that guy an award
And-
for most original title ever.
And the first installment is called Act Omega. Now, first things first, why is the first installment called Act Omega? I mean, I'm no biblical scholar, and I'm no linguist. Oh wait, I am a linguist. Omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet and has always been symbolically the last in a series of anything. So I wonder why the first...
So
I'm wondering why the
Act
first
Alpha?
installment is called Act
I have
Omega.
a theory. Maybe it's one of those silly... Maybe it's one of those stories which tells the ending, the last act first, and then the guy has a flashback and tells the whole story.
Easy there, Turner Lover.
Right.
You read the fic already. Or at least tried to read it.
Yeah, it's
Well, the viewers-
that's
well, the
going
viewers
to
at
be
home
debunked
don't
pretty
know.
quickly.
It's basically
viewers
a
at home
prologue, but this will be a running thing. It's the guy doesn't want the guy to be a Gappy, and he doesn't want this to be a prologue, so instead he names it Act Greek letter alphabets. But again, Omega is the last letter. Why not Act Alpha or Beta or just Alpha or just call it Chapter 1? Or not even only
Actually-
2 minutes 30 seconds in, and we're not even at the story, and we're already riffing this thing.
Actually, the acts, they're originally called arcs, but now they're called acts. A lot of name changing because this is a very early draft of it, very early. But as far as I can tell, this story is supposed to have be a 10-book series.
This is always the
But
kiss of... Oh, go on.
But we'll get to why it's a stupid idea to start off writing a 10-book series later.
Well,
Because we got a part of the script that's pretty extensive about it. And we're probably going to get off the script about it like we are right now. Woo!
oh yes. I'll just say this. Whenever somebody says, I'm going to write my story in multiple arcs, that's usually a kiss of death, that the person has a story that's so ridiculously long that even if they were to finish it, they basically be like freaking Song of Fire and Ice of fanfics.
Like Homestead.
And let's see, one more thing, not so much about the storytelling itself, but the formatting. So, do you like reading stories where all the story is easy to access?
Yes, I do.
Like, you buy a book and, the whole story is within just that book. You don't have to, go back and get more books. All the chapters are in a single book and not each individual chapter gets its own book.
Right.
Well, the way he's archiving this is that he's keeping individual chapters in individual files. Which is okay if you're going to upload it to fanfiction.net eventually, which, surprisingly, he hasn't yet, because going from one chapter to the next is as simple as a click of a link. But in terms of manuscripts, it's a lot more complicated. I mean, if you're going to write a manuscript, make sure the whole thing's in one document.
Oh yes, though on one hand it is legit strategy for writers to put separate chapters in separate files, and then, like, finally in editing put them together. But for the purposes of reading it, it makes it a little more complicated for the reader. I think the thing here is that we're reading an advanced copy, so I guess it's not exactly ready for an audience. That might be it.
It's too... If you can't handle something that complicated, you're not smart enough for this fic.
Then I'm out.
Anyway, so... Only Spaz, me, and the writer have seen this fic so far. Just those three, I mean... Just me, King Solomon, Spaz, King Hiram, and the other guy. Brendan McComb. What?
Just the the biblical references, and then Brendan McComb.
Anyway, so I found out about this via a comment he made. And, Spaz, would you like to read the comment, or do you want me to?
I can read it. And if you listen to StevotheHuman's riffs, this is not a Gappy stew fic. One, because he does, in fact, have weaknesses that become very apparent and pivotal later. Two, the fact that he was not gapped to Gensokyo. I repeat, not gapped, in all caps, to Gensokyo. Also a very pivotal piece later.
So, I got that comment, and reading that comment made me think, this is asking for a riff. And as per the standards of which fics get riffed on this program, and fics get riffed on this program that are hand-picked by me or Spaztique, it'll surely get riffed when it makes me start thinking like a rape apologist. So to quote one of the greatest filmmakers of our time, by the way, this is sarcastic, we'll see about that.
Remember, folks, when I wrote Ditter, I specifically wrote the I will be different art words for situations just like this. So let's see how this fellow will, in giant quotes, be different.
Okay, so I asked him, about this fic, and he sent me a copy, gave me access via Google Docs, and now it's here. So without further ado, we'll see about that. On to Chapter 1 of Act Omega of Illusions. We're just gonna popcorn?
Yes.
Because I'd like to start.
All right.
And sunlight gently shines through the window. I open my eyes to be greeted by the generic brown wallpaper in my one-room apartment. I look over to my clock and notice that it's 6 o'clock, 30 minutes before my alarm should go off. Perfect timing. I feel a bit better than I normally would on a Monday, but that is because today's an important day.
Perfect timing indeed. We're already starting off with what appears to be an inciting incident / hook point. This might be pretty nice.
Swinging my legs off the bed, I make my way to the kitchen area and prepare some fried tofu. Because I'm secretly a kitsune. Hopefully he doesn't try to continue this fic and make that a plot point. After eating, I walk to the sink to wash my face. I look into the mirror. What?
It's just
After eating, I walk to the sink to wash my face. I look into the mirror and see short, dirty blonde hair.
Okay, I think I spoke too soon.
It's connected to a fair-skinned face and a slanted nose. My own reflection. Deep color of azure is... the deep color of azure. Azure.
I wouldn't be surprised if
Just
you
say
wrote down everything
blue,
you did
please.
today.
Actually, that's a Blaze Blue reference. Is reflected back, and I remember my mother.
The good news is that we do not have a novice writer, but the bad news is it's not an intermediate writer either. It's a novice turning intermediate writer, using one of the most classic tricks in the book. I won't describe my character directly, so I'll have my character describe himself by looking in a mirror trick. Either way, it's still a blatant example of describing your character. We don't need to know what he looks like this early on, at least not until we start caring about him. We just met the guy. Let's see how you eventually handle that.
Spaz, can I say something real quick?
Yes.
The start of Wada Nohara. The very first, you're greeted with a mirror.
But you still see your character, though.
Ah, okay.
Go on,
Yeah,
Stevo?
it's still third person. And it only goes to the first person mode when Wada goes full MLG. That's why the game's so easy.
MLG.
Anyway, back...
Someone do that. Someone make an emoji
What?
Wanohara.
What, Weeda Nohara?
Weeda Nohara.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this fic. We'll do Weeda Nohara later. Back to this fic. I need to note all of these honky-ass facial features, especially the blonde hair and blue eyes. They're going to play out in the next sentence. Popcorn.
A year ago, I had moved to Japan to study abroad. Now, folks, does this raise a red flag, or does it raise a red circle on a white flag?
So, ladies and gentlemen, why did this fat man go to Japan? Okay, he seems more twinkish. Why did this little boy go to Japan?
I just noticed this gag. We apologize to many of the people that we offended for this riff.
I don't get it.
There aren't many good high schools in America anymore, so I had to live on my own somewhere else. You know, in Japanese high schools, I could be surrounded by my own harem and fight aliens and robots. American high schools only have football games and multi-ethnic pop idol singers.
Gotta hit on those sexy Japanese schoolgirls, you know. Totally not a Marty Stew already. Yeah, but I heard that Japanese schools are hellishly competitive, and you could get shanked there for having the wrong favorite Vocaloid. So watch it, kid.
My mother wasn't so fond of the idea.
You know, 'cause she's sane.
But let me go anyway because I was responsible enough. She's back home in Los Angeles.
Okay, Angelos. Did you... Really, he really did misspell the name of his own hometown of Los Angeles. I mean, I know LA's a shithole, but is it really that much of a shithole where you can't spell the name right? No wonder he thinks American education systems suck.
He's a fourth grade dropout.
Watching over the house while I'm away. Living on your own at 16 is hard, but is a very rewarding experience. Okay, so no foreign exchange family, right? You literally have the bank to live on. See. You literally have the money to live on your own in Japan at 16 when most kids can barely speak another language. I can pretty much guess at this point that you are going to continue about how great you are, and why is it you're describing this stuff to someone else if this is just your thoughts? I remember my mother would always say that I had inherited some of my best traits from her. I was known to be one of the smarter people in class. I wasn't popular or very social for that matter, but most people seemed to have a generally kind disposition towards me.
So, this Marty Stew is Chio from Azumangadayo.
At this point, I'd say more it's a gender-flipped Bella Swan in Gensokyo, or at least it would be in Gensokyo. You wouldn't think it's a Toho fic just yet. I think we mentioned this in past Riff, but it's not the being gapped by Yukari thing that itself that we're concerned about. It's the convenience we're concerned about. Without going to Gensokyo, it already seems like this character's spoiled rotten already. About 6 years ago, a war had broken out overseas.
Which I won't elaborate about, and is probably a more interesting story than whatever whiny schoolboy first world problems this crap is.
And my father had to leave. I can't quite remember much of what he was like, but my mom would say I had his intelligence. Wait a minute, I thought you got that from your mom. Then what traits do you have from your mom? But moving on. However, my most notable trait was my determination.
Sure, I won't show you my intelligence or determination, so I'll just tell you I'm intelligent and determined. I pretty much got my eyes on those two traits because that's just more of a reason to point out any and all signs of stupidity or cowardice from this character. This kid from Los Angeles.
Popcorn?
I opened the medicine cabinet placed behind the mirror to retrieve an army knife. My father bought this for himself before going into the military. But after he found out that soldiers were supplied with army knives as part of the standard operating procedure, he gave it to me as a gift.
Also, slight note, he spelled standard operating procedure as the acronym SOP. Kid decides to type the initials for standard operating procedure, but doesn't care to bother looking up which war his beloved father went into 6 years after he was missing.
Also, what was the last war America has been in that's lasted 6... Oh, wait, nah, sorry. I was about to say, which war was America in that lasted at least 6 years?
I have a problem with the fifth. I see a problem that you guys didn't notice. How did
What?
you get an army knife to Japan? I'm pretty sure the TSA doesn't allow you to bring metal objects through the detector.
Well, not metal objects, but nonetheless, it's a friggin' weapon. You can't bring it on a plane. Good idea.
Couldn't you have stowed it in the cabin baggage?
Still, we're talking about the TSA. It's probably because he's not brown that he got it through.
Again, we apologize to the people watching this fic.
TSA.
Hey, it's not me, it's the TSA. I'm just telling it like it is.
Alrighty.
My hand gently opens the knife from the blunt end, slowly unveiling a pure black blade. I follow the blunt edge with my finger as it slopes towards the tip, and then bring the finger back along its sharp, night-colored edge. I sigh, ecstatic pleasure, as I start stroking the pocket knife. No. My heart longs. My heart longs for change all too quickly.
For what to change? Also, we never hear of this knife or this scene again, so what's the point? Unless it's like to go
Actually, we
into,
do.
how could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. What's going on?
Let's see, I plan to go to KO University and major in political science and minor in religion. Shameless self-promotion. I wonder if Dr. Dan Pax, the angry theologian, is one of his professors with that religious studies minor. I think Dr. Pax would kick his ass early, because he's that kind of teacher. Anyway, I shouldn't talk about stuff I haven't made yet. Otherwise, I'm dooming myself. Episode 3. I opened, suddenly past tense, the door to the apartment hallway and went down those black and white tiled steps that clack under my shoes. Suddenly, I hear a man call my nickname. Yo, Usui-kun, calls Atsuo. How's it going, kid? Well,
Stoika's in college.
Well, I'm glad that we do have a name for this character, and we don't find out his name before we find out his appearance or his backstory. I don't know. What do you think, Spaz?
Let's see. I prefer just to see how the character act before I know his name or his backstory. Like, there's tons of movies that open with a character, we don't know their name, we don't know their backstory, and yet we see them do something heroic or something awesome. Like, have you seen the movie, let's see, what is it called? Shoot 'em Up.
Nope.
Shoot 'em Up starts
Not
with
me
this
either.
unnamed stranger who's eating carrots and holding a whole bunch of big-ass guns, save a baby from these mobsters. And he's just shooting up the bad guys and saving the baby, and then we later learn, like, we don't even know his past until, like, much, much later in the story. Or Fury, another example. It has a blatant, what's known as a save the cat moment, where this main character jumps out, kills a bunch of Nazis, saves a horse, and rides it back to his tank. And then we learn of his story throughout the rest of the movie.
Anyway, he knows. Let's see. Back to the pic. He knows how much I hate that name. Well, we don't know any other names you had, so I don't mind calling you Usui-kun. I can also call you Dickhole, but I don't think you'd like that either. So I think you'd prefer Usui-kun.
Let's just
Popcorn.
call him Bob.
Atsuo is the doorman of this apartment complex, and we've been friends ever since I came here, which is totally why he calls me a name that I don't like. He's the liveliest and friendliest man I met in Japan, who calls me a name I don't like, and it's good to know I'm not the only American in Japan. He's a darker-skinned person.
I love how the two characters, like the two American characters in Japan, have the appearance that Japanese people envision all Americans stereotypically look like. Like if we're not blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pointy nose, we're a brother.
A tan color.
Okay, maybe he's not too brother-like.
Hold on, a tan color?
Yes. Not the color of Tantan.
Hold on. I kind of missed. Who is the person he's describing? American or Japanese?
American.
This is
What?
the ambiguously brown trope.
Yeah.
Ah.
He's ambiguously brown, and this makes Post-Itter Broly cry.
And about 10 years older than I am. It's good. I'm going up to Komagatake Shrine later today, so I'll be getting back later tonight, I reply. Of course, kid, be careful, he warns. Of course, crime in Japan is virtually non-existent, so I won't worry.
Then Usui crosses paths with the Yakuza and gets shanked at for looking at him wrong.
After
I'm
walking
sorry,
to Chino
but when you
Station, I get on the train towards Tokyo
hey.
and pay the usual 5880 yen. In the words of the great teacher... What was that?
I need to point this out with this crime in Japan is virtually non-existent. First of all, this is just another case of this guy kissing Japan's ass, but also, in stories, when you say something like that, you're jinxing yourself.
Yes.
Like, you're just asking to come across a criminal and, get fucked up.
And when you don't get fucked up, the audience gets disappointed. I think it should be a storytelling maxim. If your characters have not gotten fucked up, then you have fucked up. But going back to the fic, before we continue in part 2, in the words of the great teacher Mr. Stevens, aka Mr. S, you let me down. I vouched for you and you let me down. To sum up this chapter, it's basically, hello, I'm the main character. I live in Japan on my own at 16, my dad was in the army, and now I'm off to visit a shrine. The end. But again, you really seem like you're starting to get a foothold on this writing thing. You've got decent to good description, if only a few past to present tense mix-ups. So it's kind of hard to riff that beyond the grammar usage. So let's see what you got in the next couple of scenes, but first, we're going to end part 1, so this is Spaztique.
This is Stevo the Human.
We'll see you in part 2.